Welcome back to the Cognition Courier. And how long since last time? What were, 3 months? Well, now I'm back and with new plans, so it doesn't seem a bit time charged to me. I mean, you know that I do this as a hobby, but it's a small responsibility to try to keep posting weekly. This time I will do my best to make that possible. If you missed the previous video or didn't watch anyone, go and watch them after this one. Today it's time to rank the most aggressive faction of the game, the Void, and the last of the Chronic of Godslayer. At the bottom of the Void is Voidthirster, the 5-cost construct with the following effect. Gain 1 power, and the first time you defeat a monster in the center row each turn, gain 1 star. But Courier, you put Snapdragon at top 1 on iPhone. Why this being that counterpart is in the bottom? The reason is that power doesn't have the same value as runes. You can notice that just looking infantry versus mystics. For the second effect, the same argument of the Snapdragon is applicable here. At least this time has synergy with itself, but that makes this card even more depending on having a monster in the center, and for me this is the only bad Void card of this set. Before starting with the 8th place, I will say that the gap from the next 5 cards is very small. So you can disagree with me for the exact spot, and for that I will try to explain why I choose in this order. Spike Vixen is in the 8th spot. 2 for cost, 1 honor value, and her effect gives you a draw and a power. This is the most inconsistent Void power card. I mean, it's a good card, but if you draw this and file Apprentice, this card achieves nothing, and that's why I put this on this spot. But you can see the good part of this card, that is a free power to help you with monsters, or at least it doesn't hurt your cycles. On the number 7 is Henry, one with the Void. My favorite 6-cost hero of the set, that gives you 4 power when it's played. This card is easily comparable with Arca Templar or Osaya the Peerless. First, this is a Templar by itself, because all that is killable with Templar, Henry also does, but better. And if you know, there is only 3 monsters with 6 power, and after kill them, Osaya became useless. I mean, not completely useless, but doesn't have any real advantage over Henry. Henry can help with the boss that is one, if not the most game changer card. And for 4 power, this almost do all the work to kill a sea or wind tyrant. And 1 power can be gained by a lot of means, a construct, a vixen, even a militia, so I prefer this over Osaya the majority of the times. Coming at number 6 is Shadowstar. This is a 3-cost 2 honor construct that every turn gives 1 power. Well, this is the Thirster, but cheaper. With that 2 runes of difference, you can buy a Vixen or an infantry for more consistency. So it's best to buy these 2 cards than that one. At the early game, this card gives value to all your militias, making them to gain you 1 honor by killing cultists, when you normally wouldn't get nothing. The 5th spot is for Demon Slayer. No, not Angelo. Very nice hero, 4 cost, 3 power. Henry is better if you combine it, but Demon Slayer is so much easier to acquire that makes it a better card overall. This card by itself gives a lot more value to the militias. Instead of having a useless brick in your hand, you have the power point that you need to kill a delicious 4 power monster, and start gaining quick points before your opponent even start to make their army. As well as Henry, you can compare this with Templar, just this is even more simplest to compare. This has the same cost but kills monsters with 1 power less, and knowing how many cards gives you 1 power, this comparison is even more unbalanced. More than 90% of the times I will prefer buying this over the Templar. I don't know if Muramasa is the correct pronunciation or how it should be, but this is how to pronounce it in Spanish, and I will take it this time. Then, Muramasa occupies the 4th place. The very powerful 7-cost construct that gives you 3 power each turn. In the previous card I talked about how good is having 3 power on 1 card. Well, that was only for a turn. This card keeps producing that all turns. Also, this card has the same strength as Hedron Cannon, destroying the monster that threats it. and the better part is that this doesn't depend on having other cards. Lastly, having power on constructs is the best way to kill bosses, because you don't depend on having luck to draw all your power cards on one turn. This way you play your construct and wait for 1 or 2 heroes to end the work. Well, as you can see, that 5 cards are very close because they have kinda the same effects, but with different values. Now, this new 3 has one effect in common, but these have more distance between them. So, starting with the first Vanisher card is Void Initiate. As you will imagine by the other Initiate, this is also a 1/1 hero. It has the following effect: gain 1 rune and you may banish a card in your hand or discard pile. With a naked eye, you might think that the value that this card gives in a turn is the same as an apprentice. But if you ever have played a deck building game, you will know that when you are buying good new cards, the starter ones become cards that you don't like to draw. So, Vanish is very helpful to concentrate good cards. And the real value of playing this card isn't instantaneously, but as faster as you can use it determines how much helpful it will be. For example, if you play this on the 4th turn, you are not only playing an apprentice, you are removing a militia, and that militia that you don't draw in the next turn could be the mystic that you bought. So in that turn 5, instead of having 4 apprentice and a militia, you have 4 apprentice and a mystic for a total of 6 runes that you can spend on a grand design that will carry the rest of the game. In conclusion, for me, this is the best of the initiates to initiate. The second place is for a very similar card, Shade of the Black Watch. It's a 3/1 hero that gives you 2 power and the possibility to banish a card from hand or discard. So this is the fusion between a Void Initiate with an infantry. What this card has that the previous doesn't is an extra resource, so this is a card that you don't want to leave behind, unlike the irony of the Initiate that when you have nothing to banish became the same that you want to banish. A thing that I don't mention but applies on this and the Initiate is that obviously if you can banish from the discard is better, but don't be afraid to banish cards from your hand. There are some times that banishing cards is better than buying new ones. For example, in turn 3, depending on the board, you can choose to banish 1 apprentice from your hand and buy a mystic instead of buying 2 infantries. Knowing when take one or other decision makes the quality of the player. Finally, the best hero of the set. Okay, maybe that's better. I will compare it soon, but now, the best void hero, Arbiter of the Precipice. Is a 4-cost 1 honor hero that allows you to draw 2 cards, then banish 1 from your hand. Be the worst honor cost card of the entire game is already telling that it has an OP effect. Do you remember in the enlightened video that I say that the Librarian helps you to cycle fast? This card does that better and in a better way. With the Arbiter, you first draw the cards and after that you vanish, so you have the information before you take the decision, instead of having part of them. That's for the way. And better at doing because the counterpart of this card is also helping you to cycle even faster. I advise to have the apprentice before using this card, or at least trying to have the odds by your side, because vanishing with this card is not optional, and that's the only downside of the best early card of the set. Comparing this card with Reactor Monk that also costs 4 runes is hard. Both are excellent on early and mid, but Arbiter decreases on late is more. Sometimes you want to vanish it because you have 1 or 0 apprentices, and this being valued as 1 honor helps you to take that decision with no pain. I don't have the exact account, but a very small percent of the games are decided by just 1 honor. So the monk is more constant on the game, but is more center dependent. Instead, Arbiters depends only on you. Let you decide what is the best of these two in the comment section, and tell me why you think it. Okay, that was all for this time. If you like it, don't forget to follow and like the video. See you on the next video.